Hi, I'm JB with Moss Epoxies. We're here at ShipShape TV's archives going through some of the great video that they have and tips and techniques and how-tos so that you can see how to use our products.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you again, John.
You've been in on this from day one. Kind of take everybody through what we've done so far here.
Well, what we had was a bunch of cracks and warping of the transom cap. And what happened was the original plywood cap was not sealed very well at all. It wasn't sealed with epoxy. In fact, it had a little bit of fiberglass mat on it, and that was about it. So what happened is we got a lot of rot. A lot of water got in there over the years and started to rot it out. We also had some hose pipes, port and starboard, which were leaking water into there too. So we had to remove them. And I see what you've done is you've cut a swath all the way around the transom and up the gunnels to expose this and get it out, and you had to cut the knees too, I see.
Basically, I took a reciprocating saw first, Steve, and I cut along the back edge of this transom right here. And I did cut underneath these knees in order to get that cover board off, and I wanted to examine the condition of the wood. I wanted to see what we were going to be dealing with. It was rotted all the way through, all the way back to the very back of the boat, and that's what concerned me. Okay, I was wondering if that rot was going to transfer down into our transom. So I had to start the process of digging it out just bit by bit. Use a chisel, hammer, I used some drill bits. I mean, I tried to get creative to get the stuff out. I found nails, I found screws, I had to grind those things off with a grinder, sparks flying all over the place. You never know what you're going to get into. But the fortunate thing here is that cover board was not encapsulated with epoxy resin, but the transom was.
Oh, good.
The manufacturer did that, so we're good on the transom. We have a very, very rock-solid transom. After I got all this rot dug out, I mean, literally, Steve, I had handfuls of rotted material. Okay, I wanted to get that out of the equation before we put our new stuff in. I came across a couple of cracks that really concerned me. Okay, and this is what I mean. Right over there, point that thing out, about 1.5 feet up from the back of the transom. Not a cosmetic crack here. That's a structural crack. I also had another one on this side at about the same spot. And what was concerning me is it was at the same spot, and I didn't think it was coincidence. It was the inner liner, so it's not like it's a major structural point in the boat, but what's going on with this?
Well, I took a much closer look at it, John, and you're absolutely right. It's the inner liner and it's fiberglass, so that's not going to be a problem to repair. But the previous owner had cut this out and stuck a piece of plywood in there with thickened epoxy and cabasol. And he kind of troweled it in between the wood and the existing boat, and that created a real hard spot. So then after using the boat and water getting in those hose pipes, it started to crack on the hard spot. And it's not a coincidence, it's 12 inches up on both sides because that's where he put the wood in. We can fix that easily, John, it's not a problem.
Okay, well, I had to build these knees up before you got here today because I know we're going to be putting a new type of a cover board back over. And basically, you remember, you know, that I had to scab these knees when I cut that original cover board out. But how I built these things up is I took a grinder and I ground the surface of this knee until I was down into some good, clean wood. Then I took an 1/8 inch drill bit. I drilled multiple holes into the surface. I then screwed in some stainless steel screws.
Oh, good.
Okay? And I wanted to make sure that the screw heads, here's a transom, right? I wanted to make sure that the screw heads were just slightly below the top of that transom, okay? And I started the process of making these plywood forms. All I did was I took some paper, I extended the lines, I transferred it onto some plywood, screwed it all together. And do you remember when you and I were working on the Stamus, that deck?
Yes.
You were teaching me about release agents and everything. I didn't have any of the fancy stuff. All I had was some wax.
It's fine.
So I used a couple of coats just on the inside of this wood form, clamped it into place. I didn't want anything sticking to it. And then I made a real thick batch of epoxy, cabasol, and milled fibers.
Real strong stuff.
I was like mixing concrete. I mean, this stuff took a lot of mixing, took a lot of muscle to get that stuff up, but it was still pourable. And I kind of filled it into the forms, used an applicator, and I spread it